Hello and welcome to the People Performance Podcast with me, Tracy Roberts.
Me, James Cooper.
And me, Bernice Casserly.
Welcome back to all our lovely listeners, viewers, subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, you need to do that now. Make it one of your resolutions. We actually produced that, could we? What we're going to talk about today?
Goal setting.
Oh yeah, that sounds a bit beige.
I'm not a big fan, to be fair, especially this time of year. I'm a bit, like some people are Scrooge for Christmas, are they? I'm a little bit of a Scrooge for goal setting in January.
I think I feel a bit like that because I think I sometimes operate the other way around from everyone else. I sort of, like in December when everyone starts to just chill and just do everything they want to do and let it all go and then go and refocus. I tend to be the other way around. I think it's probably because the industries I've worked in, but I've worked really hard in December.
Yeah.
And actually continued to exercise and train and eat relatively well and stuff. So when I get into January, everyone's panicking, and I just go, I've been fine without all you guys. Leave me alone, But yeah, I think it's a good thing to discuss today because I think it's going to be a talking point.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that every single person either watching or listening to this right now has had that little internal conversation around, it's January, so new year. What am I going to do for new 2025? No matter whether or not we are someone who naturally likes to have resolutions and goals set, you'll have that little internal kind of pause, reflection and consideration on, do I do it this year? It's January. Still go for it?
Yeah, I think even you still, even though you might not set some goals for yourself, you still have that chat with yourself because it's the one that happens. What's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
What's going on? What's going to be the thing that happens this year?
I guess if we use the traditional one, because we'll probably relate to that a few times today, is like how you feel after Christmas when you just eat,
eating low
on and, got out of a routine and stuff, is while you were sat on the sofa at a certain point on your second bag of Doritos, that's when you actually think to yourself, do you know what, I really need to change, but I'll do it on Monday. And and actually, is that the right thing to be focusing on and using that as energy? Well, for some people that's enough for them to stand in front of a mirror and go, I don't like the way I look and feel right now, so maybe that'll help me motivate myself. But usually there's a better way to land on what's important to you, right? And yeah, I think maybe that's something we want to focus on today. So for you guys listening, watching today, what we want to talk about is a bit of an alternative view to goal setting. So we're going to talk about ditching the grind and embracing the flow, Ma. Flow. Because I guess the problem is that a lot of people are motivated by those shoulds. I should lose weight. I should get promotion. I should learn a new language. I should pick up a new skill. I should spend more time at home. I should spend more time at work, whatever way you want it. And ultimately, a lot of those things apply pressure to people, don't they?
And also as well, you can have that thought process of, I should do this. So what?
For a lot of people, when they've got success, they can probably reflect back and go, well, these are the things that I experienced along the way. But actually, when they've had moments of learning stroke failure, have they actually used it in a positive way and reflected on it? Or actually have they just, let's just get past that bit and ignore that?
Yeah, and I think for some people, they actually miss the bits that actually mean quite a lot, like milestones, but specifically that if you focus that heavily on, I have to do this is not going to fail. And then you've got family at home going, where have you been? Where have you been? Oh, is that serving you well, if you like?
Yeah, always too fixated.
Yeah.
And I guess that comes down to probably what we'll talk about now, because we were talking before we came on air, you said about what's the percentage of people that actually fail when they set themselves up?
Yeah, so, well, if we flip it, so look at of those people who typically set a New Year's resolution, the reality is 9 to 12% of people actually successfully achieve those resolutions. And actually 23% fail in the first week.
Which
1 week.
1 week.
And that's, why is that? That's what you've got to ask yourself, isn't it? What do you think is the reason for that?
I would say it's because they've not given themselves the opportunity to really harness what they're trying to achieve. For certain people, it comes back down to what was just said there. Okay, so it's 2025, new year, new me. I should lose weight. I should get fitter. But if we have that lack of detail and understanding of what it is that we're trying to achieve, why is it even important? Then no wonder so many people end up just failing at the very first hurdle when it comes to those New Year's resolutions because they've not got the detail and clarity on what they're even trying to achieve.
And that's the problem with the should, isn't it? Because the should comes down to stuff like what's expected of you in society or people around you. I should strive to be healthy. I should exercise. I should go for a promotion. But almost should is it really relevant to you? You know, because for some people, and that's the point I was going to get to here actually, is what does success look like to everyone? Because it looks different to everybody, doesn't it? For some people, success is they'll associate that with the role they achieve at work and the salary and I don't know, like how far they've come in a short period of time and, you know, all those things. For other people, it's like success is about my family being looked after, but I still have enough time to spend time with them. For other people, it's like success to me is actually just being really happy.
Yeah.
So if you were to ask people, I do this quite a lot in our workshops. I'll say, what does success look like to you? You do get a really wide range of responses from people, don't you? And a lot of people do attribute success to work.
Oh, yes.
What does that?
It's a shame, isn't it?
There's some of the people in workshops when I've gone, what's good look like to you? And they turn around and they say, it's me working 3 days a week and play golf for the other 2.
But that's the reality, isn't it? Because for some people, those 3 days could still be 12, 14-hour days. And I guess that's what I'm getting at is like, I think I've reassessed over the years what success looks like to me. I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely, I guess, gone through and focused a lot on probably what I can achieve, as in, what's my brain capable of? What can I turn my hand to next? And I guess obviously there's got to be a monetary value to things to how consequential it, right? But I've never been someone who's gone, I really want to be a multimillionaire. I've always thought, you know what, if I've got a nice house and I don't have any like money worries and I've got a little bit of freedom, I'm okay with that. Because other people are like, no, literally 3 days a week work, 7 million quid in the bank, and I'm not going to stop until I get that. Other people are like, hey, do you know what? It's like I can give my dog the nicest things possible. And to be fair, that's me and you. Definitely, that's success to them. But I think that could be another thing for them to consider, right? When they're thinking about we'll get into how you should set yourself in a minute, but what does success look like to you?
Yeah, and why does it matter?
Yeah.
So, for example, that person who thinks that they shouldn't eat all the leftover cheese and have that Bailey's hot chocolate, why you should? You hate this. You'll enjoy it. But why should you not? So if you want to lose weight, if you want to get that promotion at work, why is that important to you? Why is that important to your life? Because if you don't understand that, how are you ever going to be able to really commit to that if you don't understand or recognise the impact that committing to it will have on you?
And I think that's a big thing, isn't it? It's about the commitment from yourself, but also I think that the expression is, what's it going to take to achieve that? And I think if you really granularize that and look at, you know, what's it going to take from me? What's it going to take from my family? What's it going to take from people around me at work? You know, it's about, there's a lot of pressure there, isn't there, really? But for a lot of people, when they give up on things, and obviously coming from a health industry for many years, I definitely saw this repeated every single year, that people come in with the best intentions, but the reality of it around health, and health isn't just fitness, by the way, it's mental health, it's mobility, it's all those things, as we know. A lot of the time, you're right, they weren't necessarily connecting with it for the right reasons. They were connecting with it because their partner had given them grief. Yeah, and go lose some weight. You know, they've maybe, I don't know, gone to play football with their kids and they're out of breath and they feel under pressure then to get back to health. It's not until someone truly connects with the difference it makes to them or can make to them that they make their peace with the hard work.
Yeah, does that make sense? Well done, yeah.
And I think even if you apply that to, you know, some business-based goals, it's the same thing. It's like you're going to have to put some time in. There's going to have to be some reading out of hours. There's going to have to be some learning from people. There's going to have to be some stuff that you're going to have to dip into that's going to be bloody uncomfortable for you. But actually, when you can understand the benefits of it, you can push past that. But the reality is it's got to be, you've got to be able to connect with the reason you're doing it and what it's going to take to do it. And if you be connected with that, then best of luck. And
definitely, if you can connect and understand the purpose and understand what it's going to take on those days when it is really difficult, we talk around kind of digging in. So when we've reached and faced that drudgery and that hardship in the achievement of those goals, if we've got that pure clarity on actually, I understand what I want to do here, definitely.
And I think that brings us on to something to consider, doesn't it? Like, like when we talk with people a lot of the time, I don't know if you find this in your coaching, you'll talk about like what's your goals, what do you want to achieve, and a lot of people actually can't articulate them very well. So then actually you got to kind of help them come up with what that goal might feel and look like. So then we go to purpose and what it's going to take and stages and stuff. And a lot of people will do things like, plan the next 12 months, plan the next 5 years. Some people plan further than that. Yes, it's bonkers, isn't it? But that's what they like to do. But quite often when we ask those questions, it's always professional.
Yeah.
Do you think you can actually get a work-life balance?
I'm going to say yes, because I've been in that many other environments that I feel as if it wasn't right. And I know that there is non-negotiables now.
Yeah.
You ask me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not doing that because I know what that's got me in the past.
Got you.
Which comes back down to my goal setting and the time where I do it. But understanding that I don't do things in a certain way because I know that doesn't work for me. So it's not because, you're just being an awkward git and not doing it on January 1st. No, it's not that. It's because that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it because I've ended up in this situation where the college fathers want a thing. I'd work from 6:30 in the morning till 11:30 at night. Is that work-life balance? No. Did it serve me well? No. Am I going to do it again? Not a chance.
I guess for me, what I always reflect on work-life balance is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. So like for some people, they can immerse themselves completely 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and then they're completely switched off at a weekend. Yeah. Or they're fully in it and fully in it 3 months and then they take a week off. And that works for them. Yeah, no. But for other people, it's regular circuit breaks that have to happen to make them feel like they're getting that work-life balance.
Have I nailed it, by the way? I've not nailed it by any stretch.
I don't think you can ever truly nail it, though.
I think my point is that I'm trying to do my best.
Which is all you can do.
Which I think is the point where, and again, go back to value systems as well. It's like that is my bit where I go, right, what was I doing last year? What are the things that are happening now? What are the things that are getting me into the situations I want to be in? Which ones are the ones that are not necessarily serving me well?
Yeah.
And if I can reduce one side of them and increase the other.
Yeah, that's about conduct reassessment, isn't it?
Yes.
And what's the priority right now? Yeah, exactly. And what's the focus? Which is why we want to challenge that to a degree, having this 12-month goal, this stringent and in your head, or even worse than that, going way, way, way ahead, because there's a benefit to having a flag on a hill. Right. So each of us have had one of those over the last few years in some shape or form where we've got, right, this is back to your point, the non-negotiable bit. I'm going to achieve this if I can. Yeah. But the difference between maybe some of the approaches we might take is you'll achieve it by not applying stringent pressure. You'll apply it by breaking it down slightly differently, because I guess to some people, that 12-month goal can feel it's too big. Look at the percentage of people who fail in the first week. Yeah. Right. If you're going to have to get yourself out of the bed, or you've been laying in bed till 10 a.m. all of like last 2 weeks.
Took get up, by the way, that.
See, I asked for sleep, so I'm okay with that. But and also there's like, right, hard stop. Right, from next week, I'm only going to eat chicken. I'm going to get accelerate. I'm going to get up before the morning. It's not just one variable in there. It's, okay, I'm now going to get out of bed at a different time. I've got to completely rearrange my fridge. I've got to cook differently.
It's too drastic a change.
Yeah, and then what happens is it's like setting off on a journey.
You find that chocolate bar.
No, what we do is you walk into the supermarket and they sell Easter eggs already. Yes, bloody mini eggs. But point being, it's like setting off on a journey, which could be treacherous. But also it's about, if you haven't got a route banner switched on a journey, what happens? You end up going off all over the place. And going around the houses, coming to a grinding halt, it was all those things. So think of it this way, you've got your group planning on all the time. You're taking things down into sort of more realistic chunks. You're able to abort missions sometimes, go off-road, whatever it has to be. But here's the thing, it's about being able to get back on again. It's not about going, oh, well, I've missed that once, or I've not done that, particularly well that time, and giving up. It's about being able to get back on. So one of the first things I was going to talk about today was, opposed to like a 12-month plan, why do we not look at the idea of like 3-month micro resolutions?
Okay.
So the idea of, and I think we actually operate like this a little bit here at T2, because we've got our flag on the hill, but we have to reassess constantly.
Yeah.
Right? We have to think, what's the needs of the business? What's the needs of the customer? What's changing out there? What's the demand right now? Because, with all the best laid plans, all of a sudden we're working with some of our lovely clients that have a desire for something completely different, and it's integrating all of our delivery in a different ways, and we've got to sort of adjust tactics. We're still heading towards the flag of the hill, but we're focusing at that point. And it could be something like, instead of thinking, okay, well, we're just thinking really, really long term here, and it's, we're going to achieve it in this way. We're thinking, okay, well, these are the things we're going to do 3 times a week for the next month, or these are the things we're going to focus on right now. This is the content we're going to build. We're going to focus on that for this 3 months, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. And I guess it's going to reduce your overwhelm a little bit more. I guess if you're a perfectionist as well, it's probably going to lighten the load slightly, because you're going to be able to focus on just what's important right now. And actually, when you adjust yourself more often, it gives you more freedom to refocus on what's important. And that's cashew. That's a cough for a sneeze, I'm not sure. Excuse me, quick crash. Yeah, it gives you a little bit more freedom to go, okay, so what about now? What about now? I always think about to myself, what about now? What am I going to have to reshift? And it can be what I definitely learned from last year through a lot of peaks and troughs in my personal life, was that the best laid plans are the best laid plans, but they can change in a click of a finger.
One conversation,
one moment, something that is someone else, that affects someone else, that affects you even, and then the whole world changes around you. And then if you've got such fixation in your head of achieving certain things, then it can be a real problem, because you're in your own space too much. So allowing yourself that little break every so often to go, okay, well, what about now? What should we focus on now? I think could be quite a healthy way to do it. I guess really it's no different to having a 12-month plan and a regular check-in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But rather than focusing completely on this big thing at the end of this 12 months, it's thinking about what's important at the moment. And I guess you can apply it to personal and business, right? Because we've been talking about changing environment here, but also in your personal life, it does change, doesn't it? And other people at home need your support more. They need less support. There's all those things going on. So I just think for me, that personally works better for me. You still need the flag on the hill. You still need always, yeah. But for me, that's really important. The other one that I wrote down here was, this is a good one for me, the not to-do list.
Yeah.
Identifying and eliminating time-wasted activities and distractions. Because I'm pretty bad, as you know, at saying no to things.
I think other people, well, go back to a couple of other authors and guys out there, like my couple of guests down here. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? Which I again, and if you listen to this on a regular basis, you'll know that I talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But it is around me understanding that there is a no. If you prioritise the no's and say, right, I'm going to have to say no to this again and again, and go, hold on a minute, how does that impact your goals? Does that actually make it a little bit easier to achieve some of them?
Yeah.
Or is it actually, I should have said yes to that one, but I should have said no to the other one, and that's where I've got a bit of a sticking point now.
Yeah.
Is that the thing that works for you? Is that the bit where actually, if you considered that, rather than saying yes to everybody or saying no to everybody, which in some way, shape or form, either personally or professionally, you are going to have to say yes to something. You can't just you probably won't end up with a job, right? But understanding that there is.
Yeah, just earlier on today, so chatting to Scott, and Scott was saying around, he noticed that him and his wife had spent 30 hours watching like some TV series, can't remember which one it was, and it was like a massive light bulb for him. But then he's also very aware that when he's watching all of this, just binge watching on a night, he's typically, on his phone, just scrolling along. And he said for him, what he's trying to focus on at the moment is saying no to his phone. And also as well saying no to just sometimes just the sheer amount or the amount of hours where you're just sat on the sofa, and actually, is there anything that he could do differently? But in order for him to start doing that, he just needs to start saying no to Facebook, Instagram, because easily hours get lost and you don't even realise it.
Well, I think to apply this as a bit of a goal, if you like, what you have to do is reflect back on, like Scott did. He's had a realization moment there. I guess if you're going to apply this to the real world, that's a great example of family life. And actually, what else could you be achieving in those hours? What could you be doing differently with the kids? Could you be out with a fresh air? Whatever it could be. But if you apply it to business, you could look back on the previous year and say, okay, where have been my stumbling blocks? And even say as a leader who hasn't quite developed at the right rate, is that partly to do with me doing too much? Things, just little bits of information like that where you go, okay, so maybe I do have to say no to a few more things. I do have to let people fail.
If it is, how much of what are you doing?
Yeah.
So is it how much of jumping in and helping somebody and actually go, this is how you turn the screen on? Or is it, go work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can, then come to me.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of this. You distracted me already. Go over yourself and see what happens.
But it also can be, just back to your point around, your productivity. So like one of the things we always educate around is an energy distribution cycle and Covey matrix and prioritizing the time. And that kind of ties in with this, doesn't it? It's like, okay, well, I've realized, I don't know, I'm at the wrong part of my energy distribution cycle. I'm doing tasks that really I should be doing at lunchtime rather than first thing in the morning, where I could be creating things. And so I am not going to do my emails before 11 a.m. or I'll make sure I close them down at night and I won't open until 11. In that time, I'll be creating stuff because that's my peak. So I think that's a good one. And to be fair, I think I could apply that and that would probably be more beneficial for me rather than some of the other ways of doing things. So the not to-do list is definitely going on my agenda. What one do you want to focus on?
I'm a big fan of one small change, big difference.
Okay.
Go on then.
So I think sometimes people can almost overcomplicate it, or they can have that vision of that goal in their mind. However, it almost feels unachievable because there's so many elements to it. Or sometimes it can feel so, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to achieve that? Well, actually strip it back, break it down, just focus on one small thing, one small change that you can make that's going to have the biggest impact or drive in you being able to achieve that goal.
Then you can build on it from there, right? So let's pick something. I want to be more acted. Yeah, right. I don't like using these examples because they do sound really cheesy, but can I park my car further away? Can I take stairs? It sounds cheesy, but that is the truth of the one small thing. But then the addition to that is another small thing and another small thing. And then that becomes habit. And then things start to shift. And like you say, you're less likely to be overwhelmed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess really, if we're going to talk about big, huge goals that people have, they can be really overwhelming, can't they? Definitely. And I can't even imagine being in a position where someone's saying it's going to take you 3 years to achieve that, and how demoralizing that could be.
Yeah.
Look at these massive projects that we've got in some of our organisations we work with. Well, these massive projects that come in, he's going to land in 2025. And then all of a sudden you go, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And it's really about understanding that if they were to look at themselves, and it'd be interesting to get their feedback and if anybody wants to post comments, but it's about how, if you was to approach your own goal setting the way that a project manager would approach their goal setting in regards to building a new building or opening a new hospital, for example, whatever it is, all of these different examples, different processes and projects that we see, well, if you was that organised with the times that you actually had for yourself and the goals that you wanted to set yourself, would you achieve them? Would it give you a better chance? Because that's the habit. That's the way that you do things on a regular basis. It's not just a one-off that you do in January. It's something that you constantly do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Those chunkings and that one little thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, right, what does that make at the end of it?
Yeah.
That 1% club, isn't it?
That would be because you can't. And if you do try and think of, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and then there's this to think of and this to think, it's so overwhelming that how are you ever going to be able to keep yourself accountable and commit? Whereas if you can just focus on that one small thing right here, right now, that's going to help, then it gets you started at least.
Right, I'm going to be a better person, a better leader for my team, and I'm going to empower them more. okay, how am I going to do that? That one small thing is I'm going to stop making statements and I'm going to ask a question instead. And that's it.
That's it. So simple, and it's easy to remember, and you can have it in mind in those situations.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember one particular role that I worked in quite a few years ago now. It was always a case of January to April. That was the quarter where we need to really tighten in on financials. So travel would always get cancelled, and every blush shade. So actually, how do we embrace that with actually some of the goals that we're trying to achieve anyway? If I've planned to do this, that, and the other, and that involves me having to fly over to Ireland for 3 months, well, that's not going to be achievable, is it? Because that just doesn't align to the natural seasonal flow in this organisation, because it always is a case of those last 3 months before the end of the financial year, we're tightening the belt.
So I guess what we're saying there is, as much as we're calling it the seasonal goal setting system, and traditionally it would have been with the seasons, it is actually seasonal for your business. So think about what the golden quarter is for most environments, all slightly different, is it?
Yes.
So that's a good way to look at it, actually, isn't it? So for some, like, I don't know, let's take some traditional retailers, the golden quarter will be that last part of the year, but then there'll be, I don't know, holiday companies will be now, and, we follow a similarish pattern, don't we, in terms of how when we ramp up and when we have big events, and summer's quite big for us. So I guess there is an element of being able to map that with your professional goals as well, which makes sense. And before we get on to like aligning it to purpose, which I think we probably need to cover, and a little bit more around that, there's 2 others on here that I think are quite nice ones.
Yeah.
There's the happiness goal and the gratitude goal. And actually, I think even if you're not thinking about setting something serious for some form of goal, these 2 things to think about, right? Because they're the 2 things that will keep you motivated and be on track if you get the balance right with them. So the happiness goal is about shifting the focus from achievement to well-being. So for a lot of people, if you recognize you hit burnout last year, or you had, I don't know, just periods of feeling really in drudgery, and maybe your work-life balance didn't feel in check, then maybe this is something to shift your attention onto. So it could be something like spending 15 minutes each day doing something that really brings me joy.
Yeah.
And focusing on that increases your life satisfaction, fosters like a bit more of a balanced approach. And I think for a lot of people, if you said to them, we all talk about triggers, don't we? So we're talking about what puts you in a bad place. Actually, what's a positive trigger for you?
Yeah, and what puts me in a good place?
Yeah.
Do something that you actually enjoy doing.
Yes. But it's tangible for everybody. So there's always like a happiness trigger for most people as well.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it's the duck always. But also reading. I don't know why, and that just makes me happy. I just relax a little bit. It depends on what I'm reading, obviously. If it's something really heavy, it might inspire different. But they're my happiness triggers. So I know that within 10 minutes of being sat with a dog, I can feel my body go, and so it's worthwhile you guys thinking about what could be your happiness trigger, what could be your happiness goal, what do you enjoy doing? Yeah, exactly. And then the other one, which is quite good, is a gratitude goal.
Yeah.
Quite like that idea. So cultivate an attitude of gratitude throughout the quarter that you're working in. So you can actually tie it in with the first one. We're talking about your quarterly kind of intentions, keeping a gratitude journal and expressing appreciation to people. So it's not just about, for some people, especially if they're quite introverted, it's more of a personal thing. They want to write it down and they want to reflect back on it. I think it's a good check-in when things are a bit rough. I certainly found it helped me during a bit of a tough period, is to remember the things that are okay in life. But for others, actually being able to write it down and then express gratitude to others, it's actually quite a powerful thing. And we know the difference it makes to other people to have that expressed to you, right? So of course, that's going to improve your relationships, gives you a more positive outlook on life, and increases your happiness and well-being. So even if you're not in the market right now to do any form of goal setting or thinking about, what this might look like to you, maybe the happiness goal and the gratitude goal is something to put with us. Yeah.
I think it's 30, and again, me being anti-January book, I'm definitely planning goal. I'm definitely planning it though.
Yeah.
I'm definitely planning, right, okay. If I was going to listen to this, and we do it a lot, by the way, listen back to our own podcasts and take it on board, and it's about, well, okay, what does that mean to me then? what can I do with this that could really have the impact for me and the people that I'm around? Whether it's you two, for example, where we would jump on another podcast and go, you know, that what we've done before, this is what we're going to do next. Yes. Or is it something that I take home and I go, read that, listen to this, read that. This is what I'm thinking. You know, when I do mine, but I know you're doing it now. Have a read, have a little think. What can we do next?
Yeah. And I guess if we're talking about this, then for a lot of people listening, there might be a little bit of a few of these in the equation. So, like, for me, I'm definitely a 3-month micro resolution type of person because I like to have focus. Yeah. But because of the way I'm built, I don't want to be planning miles ahead. I want to just think, right, what could I do? I want to perform optimally. Do you see what I did there? Okay. And then, but I'll definitely have an element of not to do's in there. I'll definitely have an element of one thing in there. And I guess the gratitude and the happiness are the two big focuses for me this year. I think there'll be something that will definitely take on board a little bit more. So I guess trying to kind of pull this together for people, we've given them some ideas about, coming away from the SMART goals and things like that, and FAST and all the other variations. Other variations are available. And by the way, there is a time and a place for those things, right? You have to 100%. So yeah, but I guess what we're trying to offer is a bit of an alternative view, particularly when it comes to January and getting back into things. So I guess going back to your first conversation, be around purpose and making the right choices for the right reasons and understanding why and how you're going to achieve it. What's going to take? Yes. What's the most important thing people to consider before they think, actually, I'm going to do the not to do resolution, or I'm going to do a 3-month.
If you want to make that goal achievable, you need to 100% connect to that purpose behind it. So what is it that you're trying to achieve? Why is that key in your life? What are the benefits that you're going to gain? We were talking earlier, so a few years back, kind of throughout my entire kind of 20s, I was always significantly overweight, more than on BMI, I was obese. I always knew that, every January, I really should, this will be the year where I should lose some weight, I should go to a gym, I should kind of be healthier. But it never happened for years and years and years. It wasn't until my little sister turned around to me and said that she was getting married. And for me, what happened in that moment is I had a flashback of a memory when my friend got married and I was a bridesmaid. And that day I felt so uncomfortable. I felt huge. I didn't want my photo to be taken. My dress had to be altered about 3 times. And I thought, I don't want to feel like that. So again, for my baby little sister, I mean, she's only about kind of a year and a half young, but the baby sister. And 100%, that was the flip of the switch for me. And I then went on to lose kind of over 8 stone in quite a short period of time. And it wasn't easy, it wasn't hard, but 100% the thing that kept me committed to achieving that goal was thinking about how do I want to feel on that day when my little sister is in a wedding dress, getting married. I want to feel great. I want to enjoy that day. And 100% it helped. It wasn't, I want to lose 8 stone and get to this specific kind of number on a scale. There was nothing to do with that. It was all about how do I want to feel. Visualization, and when you're there, 100%.
I think that's incredible, and thanks for sharing that, because that's quite an achievement, isn't it? It really is. It really is. And I think if everyone can look at things in that way, I think one of the things I always used to say to people when I was coaching them was, put yourself into the mind of that person. So when you have a down day, and you probably had to dig deep, so you were like, what would that person that looks that way at that wedding do now? Would they get out of bed, or would they stay in bed? No, they wouldn't. They would get out of bed. And I used to say that, what would a healthy person do? What would a smart person do? What would a CEO do? So if you're trying to aim to that, what would a CEO do? Would they give up now? Well, they wouldn't. They keep going. So once you've got the purpose, you can then dig in and ask yourself those questions. And, as you are, if you're on track for something, I don't know, I'm working with athletes and they're aiming to do something and someone puts something in front of them to eat and they think, I can't eat that. Yeah, they probably have to go through that process of going, what's the actions of an athlete right now? It's to say no to that. What's the actions of someone who is trying to give up alcohol right now? It's to say, thank you. It's, and you've got to reconnect with that several times before it becomes habit, like a consistent habit, right? Yeah. And it probably got to a point for you where it wasn't as hard because it became natural to know what you were doing. So I think that's a really good point. And I think a lot of people should probably sit and think about the reasons they're doing something.
Definitely. And I think as well, just understand that the importance of breaking it down. So thinking about connecting to what will that give me if I were able to achieve that goal? How will I feel? What will I kind of get from that? And then how do I break it down? So we talk about compartmentalization a lot at T2.
Yeah.
So assess the situation, assess sometimes the reality or what's going on right now. How do I go prioritize? Okay, so what's the one small thing I need to focus on initially, first, in order to get me going? And how do I stay focused in those moments? Do I stay focused by chunk it down to 3 months? So it feels achievable. Do I stay focused by maybe just thinking around, actually, how will I kind of focus on gratitude? That's actually going to really help me stay focused because it's going to help keep me on track.
Yeah, and it can be linked to your mental health as well. So it's as going back to like the traditional stuff we're talking about. It's easy to measure certain things like scales or outputs at work, or I don't know, time with the kids, whatever it might be. There's other things that are not as easy to measure. So that's why some of these SMART goals and stuff don't always work, because the tangible element is, yes, you were watching the scales change, but really it was your mindset loop shifting and you were feeling better.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite a difficult thing if you don't have that moment of gratitude or happiness or sitting in it and thinking, how am I feeling this week? And there'll have been a point where you've gone, do you know what? I feel great. You know, it's been really hard, but I feel great, you know.
No, you're forgetting the times where you literally sat there just go, I'm doing this.
That's just the thing, though, isn't it? The moments that you have that, it's important to sit in that feeling, but then to reconnect, like you say, with this feels tough, but why am I doing it? And ultimately, I visualize that person, you're walking down the aisle with my sister, and I want to feel proud. I want her to feel proud. I want to feel good. I want to enjoy those photos. And that's a really big reason to do it, isn't it? And so I think for most of us, even after like your work-life balance is out of check and you check in with yourself around this project you're working on, you'll still have a moment where you go, oh my God, we've had it here. We've been very busy and we've gone, oh my goodness, like we are so like here. There's so much going on. But when we actually sit down like we did in December and look at what we've done, what we've achieved, even in the middle of all that, we're all a little bit triggered, all a bit tired, you still have a moment of going, quite that's why we're doing it. Yes, that makes sense. And I think if you can still connect with that, you go home at night, you think, yeah, I am exhausted, but you know what? I achieved something today.
Yeah, and celebrate those small wins as well, because again, it's so easy to think about what's come around the corner and what's next. So it's valuable just pause in, stop, reflect. James's favourite day today.
I've just been doing it whilst I've been asking these questions.
It's been reflective on flesh rates.
I'm going to go fully rogue, by the way.
Oh,
So, is there any approaches to goal setting that you've used in the past that has really, really not worked out? And why do you think it's not worked out the way that you wanted it to?
I can think of loads of different variations, but one that I can think about was, just from a work perspective, was tying everything goal related into a KPI, like just to a number. And I think a lot of businesses, maybe this is worth some of the viewers considering actually, if everything that you have is tied to a number somewhere, there's always a variable that can throw everything out. So I think for me, the times it's gone really wrong is, okay, I'll achieve that number, or I'll do this and I'll do that. There's no variation around happiness or, I mean, I think we spoke about key KPIs and I spoke about key wellness indicators. Yeah, it was about 15, 20 podcasts ago, something like that. I'm not even a bit longer than that now. And I do think actually it's about having that balance between the two. Even if you were the manager setting those goals for someone, there's got to be a bit of both in there.
Still a person, right?
100%. So when it's only just been tied to KPIs and numbers and stuff that, because what happens, the business changes.
Yes.
You know, and some of the variables that are in there you can't control. So then I find I get frustrated because obviously I'm a control freak. So when things don't work, it puts me in a bad place. So therefore I don't feel like I can shift. Does that make sense? And it makes that reroute just a little bit harder. So for me, if it's a hard, fast number only, that does not work for me. There's got to be some variation in there and a little bit of bandwidth. Yeah, and a bit of a creative, eco this in there as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Bernice, anything from you?
Well, as you guys are aware, I'm incredibly high on curiosity. So for me, if I reflect and think around kind of goals that haven't worked in the past, it's been due to a lack of clarity and a lack of reason as to why I want to do it. So it kind of ties into what we've already said, but 100% that'll be it for me. If that goal's been a bit too vague, if I don't connect with why that's important, then it's not going to get done. And I also know through some of the psychometrics that we use at T2, I can be easily distracted. So therefore, if I want to be committed and focused on something, I need the detail. I need to connect and understand why.
Okay. What about you? And mine is just around when I've pushed too hard for an achievement that wouldn't have been realistic anyway.
Almost too big.
It's like just too way. We're talking NAS, and I'm like, I ain't even got off the UK. I'm not even leaving the planet. I ain't even got to a bed. Yeah, and I'm still trying to aim to go there, and then eventually it comes crashing down because you end up communicating in a slightly different way than you normally would to the people that are actually caring about you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being an eternal optimist, which you've written more, but then I guess the downside to that is you are more likely to want to stretch and then it hits you harder when, yeah.
Is it a coincidence I'm reading a book called Resilience right now? Whoa.
But I think it's actually quite a good thing to point out because some people, because they're eternally optimistic, they'll always shoot for the moon, won't they? And
that works for some. It does, doesn't it?
yeah,
It does in certain situations. If it really does feel so far out of reach, how's that going to make you feel? What impact will it have on you? We reach burnout. Will it start having an impact on how you communicate your relationships? Because you're so focused on this big goal.
That's why I don't do the bit of these. When I say I'm gonna, if it's gonna be the point in time, it has to be I've got to be in the right headspace to do it.
Yeah.
And I think my advice for everybody that watches it, especially when you're looking at your own goals, is do what works for you. There is no right answer, but there is these lots of different ways of flipping the coin, having to think about what you don't need to do, what are the yeses, what are the nos, but do what works for you.
And there's a variation of that because I guess the one thing we haven't covered on this is that there are people watching this and listening to this right now that actually are the people that help people set goals. Yeah. And you got to be sharp if you're going to do that. You've got to actually think about all these different variations of what we've spoken about. You're never going to get a team that are all the same. Now, yes, you can have certain things that there's no real give on. There's got to be some variation of KPIs in there in some jobs. But actually, what would be wrong with a leader taking a little bit of a twist on some of this stuff to get what they want from people by getting to know them, yes, and understanding them and listening to their, how they respond to some of this information. And for some people, the not to-do list is definitely the right way to go, because they're eternally optimistic and that's to do everything. Yeah, for other people, stream of micro resolutions. For some people, actually, just because they do a great job, but they'd be bogged down, the gratitude, the happiness, whatever it might be. And I think there's a variation there to consider for people helping people set the goal in the first place, right? So loads to consider, and love the fact that James picked the anti-goal goal. So hopefully we've given you a little bit of food for thought. I guess, is there anything that we want to kind of leave the listeners with? I suppose one final thought is, and we kind of touched on it earlier, is embrace growth, not perfection. Yeah, I agree with that. Perfection is nice, but it can be unachievable. Yeah. Sometimes good is good enough. Yeah, isn't it? And here's the thing that you're gonna think about route planner, and sometimes you're gonna go off road. It's about how you get back on road, isn't it?
Also, you might go off road and end up probably in a tent if it was you. Right? Yeah, it would be in a field, in a tent, wrapped up in a blanket with the dog sat next to me.
Fabulous. And hopefully got some good hidden tips there, guys. Hit us up with any questions you've got. But thank you for tuning in to the People Performance Podcast.